Hey YouTube. So I want to talk for a quick moment about light skin mixed biracial pride, right? Pride in being light skinned mixed or biracial, right? I feel like, I'm not sure, I kind of just get sort of a feeling like if you kind of like express pride in being light skinned mixed and biracial or biracial, whatever, I think that sometimes, say, like brown skin, dark skin, black people may sort of feel some type of a way about that. And I think it may come from perhaps like people feeling like, oh, they're trying to sort of distance themselves from blackness, perhaps, as well as elevate themselves above blackness, right? Because oftentimes people assume like, oh, well, people have the idea, I should say, like if you're mixed, quote unquote, then you're like, quote unquote, better than like, quote unquote, the average Negro, quote unquote, right? Right? But seriously though, I feel like that could be at play though. Whereas like you express pride in blackness, well, you express pride in being light skinned, mixed, and biracial, then it's like, oh, you view yourself as different than us. And some light skinned, mixed, biracial people do, and some don't. And then some are like, well, they acknowledge blackness. And then some are like, they acknowledge blackness, but they also acknowledge their position within blackness, right? So it's kind of weird because it's like, on one hand, we should be aware of our positionality and aware of like how we fit into the community and things like that. But also, it's like, well, should you make a distinction? Should we all just be black? And I feel like some people would be saying like, yeah, we should all just be black. But then when issues come up that come up because of like skin tone differences and racial feature differences, then it's like, well, if we're going to properly deal with these issues, then we have to acknowledge that there are some differences. And I feel like I've already made a video about that anyway. I have actually. I forgot the name of it though. I've made so many damn videos. And but to be fair, this could be also done on the flip side too, where it's like if a brown skinned, dark skinned person express pride in being specifically brown skinned and dark skinned and saying like, yeah, this is blackness, right? Then some folks kind of may get in their feelings, especially women. Light skinned biracial mixed women will definitely get in their feelings because I think they're more so used to being like considered low key the standard for what a black female should be, right? I think the light skinned mixed biracial brothers, not so much because it's been like pushed so much that you ain't black. Like you ain't black. You ain't like, like you don't know what a real nigga goes through, right? Like your struggle is being mixed, not black. You know, right? And I've kind of sort of low key gotten a few comments like that too on YouTube where people have like stop it. Like, right? People like, stop it. You ain't black. You're mixed. Your struggle is mixed, not being black. And I'm like, well, then you kind of get into the situation where it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. you know, like either way you identify, you're gonna get screwed over in some way, right? Someone's gonna come for you in some way, right? Because if I came on YouTube, especially from the beginning, if I came on YouTube and just said like I ain't black, I don't claim no black, I ain't what you talking about, I ain't black, then I feel like that's when folks will want to point out every single black feature that I have. At that point, they'll be like, "Oh, you ain't black." Just run down the list. So, oh, what about maybe you should tell your hair that you're not black, right? Tell your nose it ain't black. But yeah, I just find that really, interesting, right? So yeah, I kind of feel like it kind of does. It may go both ways, to be fair. Where it's like, brown skin, dark skin folks being like, "Oh, I'm happy to have two fully black parents," and then some light skin mixed biracial people, man, am I not black? you know, Getting in their feelings because they feeling like they ain't black enough now, right? So then it goes back to the colorism struggles of light skinned people with just not being black enough and not having their blackness recognized, and having identity issues because of that. Then for the dark skinned people, it's like, well, then it's like, you too black. God damn it, shit, you too black. You Nah, hey, I ain't fucking with that. You too black. Then it's like self-esteem issues because people, like, you're so black and people equate blackness with something negative. So then it becomes self-esteem issues then with that. But yeah, this video is a bit of a rambling video. I didn't mean it for it to be, but one subject leads to another subject. But I just think that it's something interesting and something to take note of. Like, does light skin mixed biracial pride offend brown skin, dark skin people? And to be fair, on the flip side, does brown skin, dark skin pride offend light skin mixed and biracial people? And I'll say, from my personal experience, well, for my opinion, you know, it wouldn't offend me if a brown skin, dark skin person has pride in being brown skin and dark skin. That's a beautiful thing. That's something to take pride in. It's just the way you may express it, right? If you're expressing it like, oh, oh, those light skinned people over there are ugly or something, then I think I would take issue with that, right? you know. Um, and honestly, the same thing with light skinned mixed and biracial people, because I think sometimes they can do sort of that same thing too, where it's like they're uplifting themselves, but also kind of like bashing and putting down dark skinned folks, and that would offend and trigger me, right? As we all should be. you know. But I also think when it comes to the light skinned mixed biracial people being prideful or having pride, I think what may happen, or what may also be at mine, is similar to what may be at mine when white people express pride in being white. Where it's like, for me specifically, and how I feel about white people expressing pride in whiteness, I feel like it's low key implied that you're proud to be white. It's almost like, why would you not be? When has whiteness, especially in this country, ever been considered a bad thing, right? When has whiteness ever been considered less than, right? Whiteness has always been uplifted and seen as like the standard and what you should be and what is normal. So of course you would be proud of that. So it's like, it almost is like, it doesn't really need to be said because no one ever really attacks whiteness like that. And I think to a lesser extent that may be what's on the mind when it comes to like brown skin and dark skin people, where it's like, oh, this light skinned person or this mixed person, biracial person, just wants to remind us that they are light skinned, mixed, or biracial. That's all. They just want to brag. That's all. And sometimes I think that is at play. Sometimes. And then sometimes I think they may kind of feel like, well, okay, when has, it's like, well, being light skinned, mixed, and biracial aren't considered bad things, at least in certain situations. It's like that, but to a lesser extent, though, right? Where it's like, it's not to say that it's completely uplifted, like, say, whiteness, but it's like, well, people don't really come for the light skinned, mixed, biracial people like they do brown skin, dark skin folks as much, though. Perhaps. Yeah, it's very layered. It's very nuanced. But I'll bring this video to a close. I don't want to go on for too long about this, but I just wanted to throw that out there. A bit of a rant, a bit of a ramble. My bad. But thanks for watching. Feel free to comment. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.